The highly anticipated report from the U.S. government just dropped, and it's sending a huge shockwave to the rest of the world. This 166-page report outlines America's plan and framework for the Bitcoin accumulation strategy, as well as so much more. It also mentions self-custody, which I find quite interesting. But before we break down the report, let's listen to what Trump's right-hand man and the Bitcoin strategy, Bo Hines, said just after the report dropped. Let's check out the clip, and then Opti and I will talk about it.
What's the update on a potential Bitcoin strategic reserve?
Well, look, we have it. It's been established through executive order in the SPR. We also have the strategic national stockpile. The digital assets national stockpile. I think that one, we wanted to recognize Bitcoin for being unique, and we talk about what that looks like and kind of the threshold that Bitcoin has created. It's in a class of its own, and everyone recognizes that. But we also wanted to give credence to the work and the development that's happening across other ecosystems, and that's why we have this national stockpile alongside. This actually requires some labor to get this set up properly. You have to build the infrastructure. You have to make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's to get this done the right way and have long-term success with it. But I've said ad nauseum, we do believe in accumulation, obviously in budget-neutral ways, as the president's outlined. But there are countless ways that we can engage in that. We'll act on those that can be most expeditiously implemented. And I think that, people will be very pleased with the direction that we go in, and we'll start moving on that in short order. But obviously in this report, if you read the first Digital Asset CEO, we're tasked with creating a clear and robust regulatory framework. And so that's what we focus on here. We understand the importance of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. We're enormous fans of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin community, and we want to deliver for them as well, and I'm certain that we will.
How much Bitcoin does the federal government have?
I can't discuss that right now.
Come on, give us a ballpark.
I can't.
Is it going to be made public?
There are several reasons in which we're not disclosing that at this time. There might be a time in which we do. But what I will say is, we want as much as we can possibly get. And that's what I continue to say, and we're going to continue to work on that.
We want as much as we can get. And again, that is a member of the executive branch talking about Bitcoin. And this is a report that I think the community was expecting for a very, very long time now, since Trump got into office earlier on this year. And he made an executive order basically asking for the report. The report's here. But again, I think Opti and I were talking about this, right? Were we expecting more from the report? But before, Opti?
Well, I think the whole community was expecting a lot more. I think kind of the hype around it, and I think you saw the kind of price react to it. And before we kind of get into all of the details, I think everyone was expecting a little more. Obviously, I think a lot of Bitcoiners, including myself, don't really understand how politics works per se, and so you expect a lot more coming out very quickly. But I think Bo Hines summed it up really well. Again, before we break down a lot of the stuff in it, he's like, we got to lay out the framework, the regulatory framework. We got to give the market clarity before we start announcing all of this stuff. Though it was interesting how coy he was on how much Bitcoin they actually own, whether they're accumulating more. But it is interesting. He's like, we have it, which makes you think and speculate, okay, the rumors recently, does the U.S. have all the Bitcoin that they claim they have? If you're reading between the lines, it seems like we do, and it seems like maybe they're accumulating. Really, we have no idea what they're doing. Obviously, they're being very tight-lipped about what they're actually doing, but there is a lot in this report that does kind of explain. Though, maybe if you have been following along on this, I don't know if anything new per se came out. There's no breaking news coming out of this, but it was a huge report. I didn't even get enough time to read the whole thing. I skimmed through it, read some different chapters, and we'll talk about that more. So, Nico, just keep going.
Yeah, so let's do a breakdown. So this was released yesterday, July 30th, 2025. Could never have imagined this, just a couple years ago, just last year with the previous administration. So for the audio listeners, fact sheet, the president's working group on digital asset market releases recommendations to strengthen American leadership in digital financial technology. It goes on to say, ushering in the golden era of crypto. When President Trump took office in January, he promised to make America the crypto capital of the world. Today, the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets is releasing a report that provides a roadmap to make that promise a reality. Established by President Trump's Executive Order 14178. The working group consists of officials throughout the federal government and was tasked with submitting a report that recommends regulatory and legislative proposals to advance the policies established in the order. By implementing these recommendations, the policymakers can ensure that the United States leads the blockchain revolution and ushers in the golden age of crypto. Positioning America as the leader in digital asset markets, the working group determined that a fit-for-all purpose market structure framework is essential to support growth and innovation in the digital assets industry, protect consumers, and keep the United States at the forefront of digital asset development. The working group recommends that Congress builds on the massive bipartisan House of Representatives vote clarity by enacting legislation that eliminates existing gaps in regulatory oversight by providing the CFTC authority to oversee spot markets for non-security digital assets. Embrace DeFi technology and recognize the potential of integrating such technology into mainstream finance. The SEC and the CFTC use their existing authorities to immediately enable the trading of digital assets at the federal level by providing clarity to market participants on issues such as registration, custody, trading, and record keeping. Allow innovative financial products to reach consumers without bureaucratic delays through the use of tools like safe harbors and regulatory sandboxes. Modernizing bank regulation for digital assets. The Trump administration has already ended Operation Choke Point 2.0 once and for all by working to end regulatory effort that deny banking services to the digital asset industry. A sound and predictable banking regulatory framework that embraces the promise of blockchain technology will allow depository institutions to meet customer demand for core banking services for digital assets and making it easier for those customers to access digital asset markets. The working group recommends that regulators take additional actions to relaunch crypto innovations, efforts to clarify permissible bank activities and custody, tokenization, stablecoin issuance, and the use of blockchains, promote transparency regarding the process for institutions to obtain bank charters or reserve bank master accounts. I think Kate Long's going to be very happy about that one. Ensure that bank capital rules are aligned with the actual risks associated with digital assets, not simply the fact of their presence on a distributed ledger. Strengthening the role of the U.S. dollar, combating illicit finance in the digital age, and ensuring fairness and predictability in digital asset taxation. So, again, I think Bitcoiners were obviously expecting a lot more. I think it's been 7 months. Someone in the chat saying sideways summer. When Trump was inaugurated, the price of Bitcoin was at 109,000. We're currently sitting at 118,000, right? And I've been saying this from a news perspective. This has been one of the most bullish cycles in Bitcoin's history, but from a price action perspective, it's been a little bit slow. Anyways, so they have a whole page on just Bitcoin and crypto on the White House website. Here is directly from whitehouse.gov. President Donald Trump is strengthening American leadership in digital financial technology. You have Trump in his prime walking the halls of the White House on the outside. And it goes on to say, the American story is one of innovation, from the railroads that link sea to shining sea to the internet that connected the entire world. American entrepreneurs have led the build out of next generation technologies in every generation since our founding. Crypto should be no different. The working group, as the author of this report, endorses the notion that digital assets and blockchain technologies can revolutionize not just America's financial system, but systems of ownership and government's world economy-wide. American entrepreneurs who pioneer new industries using these technologies deserve both clarity on the policies that affect their efforts and praise for the progress they have made. The working group further believes that the movement underpinning crypto's development, largely grassroots and dedicated to building a more open and efficient financial system for all, should be recognized. No president gave this movement the recognition it deserves until President Trump. That's true. The working group encourages the federal government to operationalize President Trump's promise to make America the crypto capital of the world and adopt a pro-innovation mindset towards digital assets and blockchain technologies. The following core recommendations, if implemented, will ensure crypto becomes a hallmark of the new American golden age. So here's the entire report. I believe it's 166 pages, and it just talks about the whole industry and what the plan is. Here's some pages that really stuck out to me, specifically this one as it relates to self-custody. Here's Nick Newman, CEO of CASA, and he says, I've been saying for years that self-custody is fundamentally aligned with American values around property rights. It's surreal to now see this being confirmed at the highest levels of our government in a bipartisan way. So it goes on to say, Congress should evaluate the self-custody language that is included in Clarity and codify the following principles through legislation that reinforce the importance of self-custody. Principle 1, the importance of U.S. individuals maintaining the capability to lawfully hold or custody their own digital assets without a financial intermediary. Principle 2, the importance of enabling U.S. individuals to engage in lawful, direct digital asset transfers that do not involve a financial intermediary with another individual that lawfully self-custodies digital assets. Congress shall codify principles regarding how control over an asset impacts BSA obligations, particularly for money transfers, through legislation such as the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, which has been incorporated into Clarity. Specifically, such legislation could codify that a software provider that does not maintain total independent control over value is not engaged in money transmission for purposes of the BSA. So this is one of the things that stands out to me the most, because this is paper Bitcoin summer after all, right? And what the news cycle of this cycle has been specifically about Bitcoin treasury companies. That has been the narrative. I think what Michael Saylor has done for the industry has been fantastic. I think what a lot of these treasury companies are going to do for the industry are going to be fantastic. But we all have to remember, fundamentally, what's going to change the world for the better, what we all want and aspire as human beings and just as people, is freedom, right? The freedom to transact and the freedom to hold something that doesn't get debased. And I think, honestly, like, that should be something that you shouldn't have to ask permission to do, right? And what Bitcoin brought to this world is this radical concept that you can memorize a 12 to 24 word seed phrase, you can theoretically store millions, billions, trillions of dollars in your mind, right? And that gives you a tremendous amount of power to vote with your feet if you don't like the laws of your jurisdiction. And I've heard so many stories coming out of Venezuela where people want to escape the regime, and how do you transfer out of Venezuela? You don't do that. So what do? They buy Bitcoin, put in a hardware wallet, and they get on a plane or they cross the border, and they're able to take everything they own with them. When you hear these horror stories of Lebanon and Greece, and you hear, and it even happened here in the United States, of these so-called bank runs, people forget, people lost their life savings, right? So this idea that you're outsourcing the personal responsibility of the custody of your wealth, and the way that I see wealth is energy, right? And when you're outsourcing that to someone else, it might feel safe, but you're really giving total responsibility to that other person to determine the outcome of your life, right? The direction of your life. And that is a very radical concept, right? It's completely outside the Overton window, but it's true, right? So the fact that the White House came out with this, specifically saying we got to protect self-custody and the rights of Americans to take self-custody, is incredibly important. And of course, I have to give a shout out to Dennis Porter because he's been doing incredible work on the state level regarding this. And then principle number 2, the importance of enabling U.S. individuals to engage in lawful direct digital asset transfers that do not involve financial intermediary with another individual that lawfully self-custodies digital assets. So what that basically means is self-custody should be allowed for individuals. And if me and Opti send each other Bitcoin, that should be fine too. That's what the White House is signaling. Now, why would they signal this? Because you have to read between the lines. And this is really what I want to focus on in this entire report, because this is simply Bitcoin after all, right? And we've always said this. The revolution, what is going to fundamentally change the world, what is going to fix wealth inequality, what is going to fix your ability to save into the future is you buying, earning, saving in Bitcoin, putting that Bitcoin into self-custody, and just switching to a Bitcoin standard. That is what's going to change your life. That's what's going to change the lives of everyone. But you have to understand that, okay, so if we can do that, why would they want to stop us from doing that? Well, I mean, there was a clip. We can't play it for you guys. We don't have a clip. But essentially, there's a clip that was circulating around X yesterday. And it was talking about, it was basically the European Central Bank admitting that if they don't roll out these CBDCs, they're going to lose their ability to manipulate money, right? And I mean, I'm simplifying it here, but that was the TLDR, right? So these two principles are so important because I think what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years is a bigger and bigger percentage of the world population is going to opt out of their local fiat currencies. And if you're a government or if you're a nation state that depends on being able to print, to pay, to essentially fund yourself, you're obviously not going to like that very much. You're not going to like that very much. Because what it does is it essentially forces the state to live within its means, right? And then it also empowers the individual to say, hey, you know what? I kind of don't like the situation here. I can get up and go if I want to. I can vote with my feet, so to speak. So as much as all these things about Bitcoin that you guys appreciate, you guys admire, to the new watchers of the show, you guys have to understand what makes Bitcoin special is your ability to take custody of it. And what makes Bitcoin special is your ability to transact peer-to-peer. That's what makes Bitcoin special. Before Bitcoin, if I wanted to just send Opti $100, I would have to go on Cash App. I would have to go on Zelle. I would have to go on PayPal. I would have to go on all these options. By the way, they're fantastic. They're great. But fundamentally, they're still intermediaries. And with an intermediary, history has shown that if there's enough political pressure, those intermediaries will be weaponized. They will be co-opted. They will be captured. That isn't the case with Bitcoin. So this whole report, this is the thing that matters to me the most. And I'm super glad the administration is on board and understands what needs to happen. Now, I'm happy about the Clarity Act. I'm also happy with Dennis Porter's work on the state level because multiple states have passed laws that protect the right for individuals to take self-custody. But what you can do is make your voices heard because fundamentally, guys, you have to understand this is going to be the defining issue. This is going to be the pivotal shift that changes the direction of which humanity is heading. This is it right here. It's your ability as an individual to reclaim back your financial sovereignty by opting out of the fiat system and putting your energy, your time, and your work into a money that cannot be debased. That is the pivotal conversation. And also your ability to use that money with other individuals. what we've seen in the past and what I believe you will still continue to see into the future, because I don't think we've ended. This hasn't ended. I think this is the beginning of this. Is I think states that don't have your best interest at heart are not going to be okay with that. They're not going to be okay with that. That's too much power for the individual. It's way too much power. So, yeah, that's my bit on all this, Opti. I know I went on a little bit of a rant, bro, but I don't know what your favorite part from this report was, but that's the one that spoke. That's the part that spoke to me the most.
Yeah, I actually saw that. I didn't see that exact page, but I did see something similar. It said, the Digital Asset Working Group is going to push Congress to ensure that self-custody is like respected. And the part that really stuck out to me, they said specifically that individuals can, partake in, quote, lawful peer-to-peer transactions. And I found that super interesting when I saw that. I think there's a lot going on here. Again, first, it is my first initial reaction was like the chud, nothing ever happens meme. Like we were expecting probably them telling us that they stacked a lot of Bitcoin, that we could see how much Bitcoin they actually had. In reality, they kind of just laid out a framework. Like this entire report there's like an intro where it kind of explains what Bitcoin is, what digital assets are, and then it goes into various different points. And it's pretty much like an outline. It's full of a bunch of recommendations for all the different various institutions that are, trying to have some claim into the Bitcoin space, or rather, recommendations to all the various institutions that have some jurisdiction over Bitcoin currently, and then what they advise them to do. Though, from like a Bitcoiner's perspective, one of the parts that I did find the most interesting is they literally quoting Satoshi throughout the whole thing, which is actually kind of interesting. Like every news segment has a new Satoshi quote throughout it. And like the Bo Hines clip in the beginning, he is, saying, hey, we respect the Bitcoiners. We love Bitcoin. We want to do right by the hardcore Bitcoiners as well. Of course, they're trying to lay a framework here so that everyone is kind of, like a wholesale framework, so that we kind of have some, quote, rules of the road here. And there were some segments that I just completely like overlooked, because it's talking about like various digital assets and different institutions that are, again, laying claim to Bitcoin and how they've been kind of currently making rules around Bitcoin. I was really looking in there to see if they really, announced the strategic Bitcoin reserve, what they were kind of talking about via taxes. There was specifically kind of a couple sentences in there about how Bitcoin will be treated in taxes and how they're going to recommend some change, potentially some de minimis tax, exclusions in there. But there was something that was a little maybe more, I don't know if it's nefarious is the word, but they did mention like the Patriot Act and adding a Sixth Amendment to that, which, as a Bitcoiner and further someone that like became an adult during 2001, that made me feel a little weird. But overall, I think it was a very comprehensive coverage of what's going on in the space. And really, I think it's the impact that it's going to make on every other jurisdiction. It's like, I haven't seen any other country drop a 166-page report about everything regarding the quote-unquote crypto space. So I think it's a good first step. And when I hear Bo Hines talk about it, actually, will you pull up that one tweet? He's literally like Bitcoin bull posting here. He's straight up shit posted this morning, dropping a meme of the Genesis block with Donald Trump's tweet here, or quote here. We saw Scott Besson basically bull posting as well. Crypto, welcome home. He's still saying crypto. So I don't know. A lot of it is kind of making me feel, and maybe that's literally the signal. It's the vibes, it's vibe capital management here. So the vibes around it are very high. Now, as probably everyone is saying in the chat, like we want to see some implementation, but again, governments work slowly. As Bo Hines was kind of outlining, they put a lot of man hours into this. I don't know if it was, I think it was this video. If you guys watch this video on Twitter, you can hear David Saxon basically say, we've been going to meetings, like hundreds of meetings, thousands of hours to get this together. So they are putting in the work, and let's just see what gets implemented moving forward. And hopefully soon, as we heard, maybe we will finally get some conclusion.
Look at that.
Yeah,
US
play it
Treasury
again.
crypto.
Some conclusion on
Wow.
what's going on with the strategic Bitcoin reserve, but it sounds like they're doing it. So as of now, it's just a regulatory framework and outline, but it's pretty comprehensive. I don't know if you guys want to read it. It's a little, I would say, kind of boring, but this is. I think this was really more angled towards the regulations, etc., versus just bull posting and explaining what Bitcoin is and what they're going to do. So I'm guessing that's the next step.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge, stamp of approval, ladies and gentlemen. Like Scott Bessent published in the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos's media company, and Scott Bessent's article, the headline is "The Roadmap to Making America a Crypto Superpower." So, let's compare and contrast, because I think Bitcoiners live on an accelerated timeline. Okay. A year ago, Opti and I were seriously considering leaving because the regulatory environment in the United States was extremely hostile. It was not fun. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the leftovers of that environment. We have an update for you guys regarding the Samourai wallet case. And look at what happened. A complete 180, right? So we got so much heat when we started advocating for then candidate Trump and then candidate RFK, because everyone was like, "Oh, Bitcoin isn't political, and this is bad. Like, what are you doing?" And we were those types of people too for a long time, and it was only until the Samourai wallet guys got arrested where there was a famous Opti gate, right? That Opti and I kind of threw our hat in the ring, and we weren't the only ones, right? The Winklevi, Bitcoin Magazine, it kind of galvanized our industry to get into politics. Before, we didn't care. I don't think anyone really cared. I remember I posted something last year, and I had it saved to drafts for such a long time, but I was like, it's probably not a good idea to vote for Biden if you like Bitcoin. And the tweet just blew up. And when a tweet blows up, it means you struck a chord with a lot of people, right? It's the only reason tweets blow up. And I was thinking about it, I was like, wow. So kind of everyone's kind of thinking about this, but everyone is looking at it from the traditional left, right, Republican, Democrat type of worldview. And me and Opti were looking at it from are you on the side of Bitcoin? Or are you on the side of CBDCs? Because that's the only future ahead. There is no in-between ground, okay? Bitcoin is a replacement of the central banking system. Make no mistake. The European Central Bank is admitting to this by now, right? They're basically saying, if we don't roll out the CBDC, we're going to lose control. What do you mean control of what? Well, I didn't even know you guys were controlling something in the first place, right? So... And then you have to kind of get into the argument of what has resulted in you controlling money in the first place? It's been horrific. The last 100 years of central banking have been disastrous. World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, it all happened under central banking. You can make a very solid argument that the world wars are funded by the money printers, right? So, and then not to mention, which is why I think our generation, specifically the millennials and the Gen Zers, Gen Zers and the alpha generations, what happened in 2008 with the beginning of the QE experiment. I played you guys a clip of Charlie Kirk the other day of him basically saying look, we see the country getting wealthier, but no one can afford anything if you're young. What is going on? Well, it's broken money. Right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. I agree with Opti. I was hoping for more. I think it was a little bit of a tease, right? But at the end of the day...
Nothing ever happens.
At the end of the day, guys, I'll say this. Look, in D.C., the way it works is if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. We're in the room now. That's number one. Number two, we're part of the donor class now, right, in D.C. So you think that this just gets released because, Trump just likes Bitcoin? No, we got him elected. That's what you guys have to understand. And then another thing that I'll leave with you guys is that the president of the United States currently has the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company. So from here to the end of his term, which is 3.5 years from now, what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to do? I'm going to leave that with you guys. Just use after everything that I just read you guys. The bull post from Bo Hines, the bull post from Scott Bessent, right? Trump got inaugurated with Bitcoin at 109. It's at 118 7 months later. What do you think's going to happen? I'll leave that with you guys. It's not rocket science. Even less than a 5x, we're at $500,000 per coin. Less than a 5x. So I'll leave that with you guys to kind of ruminate with. It's not rocket science. This thing's going to go to the moon. And I think it's all going to happen during Trump's last term, which is what we're living through right now. Anyways, before we move on to the next segment, we have tons to talk about. We have clips. We have the Samourai wallet stuff. Opti's got a culture special for you guys, like always. I do want to give a shout out to Simmons. We would not be on air without our partners. Our partners are what supports the show. So if you guys want to support us, check out our partners. We're very picky on who we choose to partner with. So Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Why do I say that? Because it's automatic self-custody. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, they go straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. To get started, you put in your email address there. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy those sweet, sweet Satoshis. So go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today to get started. Now, why would you want to use that URL? Because you earn something called Bitcoin Well points. You get 3 tosses into the wishing well, which we're going to be doing live for you guys right now on air. We're going to toss a coin into the wishing well. Every time you toss a coin, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. Today's grand prize was 665 sats. Again, if you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply, bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well. All right, everybody, let's start the show. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just 1 second. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water. They put a blowtorch to it. And as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $118,280. Price high, block high, 907,978 sats per dollar, 845 sats per dollar. Market cap 2.35 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 10.04%, 10.05%. Decline from all-time high, -4%. Realized monetary inflation 0.84%. The grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started. All right. So let's check out this clip. So it's really, really interesting. I always talk about this, guys. The Overton window, Overton window, Overton window, right? So this is Jim Cramer, right? Usually when Jim Cramer says something, it's time to sell. But He's saying, it's his words, not mine. Jim Cramer just said live on CNBC that Bitcoin is a hedge against the U.S. turning into Weimar Germany. Wow. Let's check out the clip. I kind of just, I don't even believe it.
Some. It's not about Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin, you can put it in the speculation basket, but at the same time, how many companies, we're just going over these numbers, are raising money to buy Bitcoin? Well, it's enormous.
I was offered a chance to do it. I said,
far more than has been raised by companies going public.
It's because it's almost encouraged. I mean, the SEC chief is like,
This is a very crypto-positive administration, no doubt about that. That's been a real positive for all of the different.
Saying it's also a great hedge against the budget deficit.
Well, it may be seen,
which is what it is.
Michael Saylor would say that, right? Store of value.
I was with someone whose son took his paycheck and bought Bitcoin. I started a good job, 5 years ago, and now it doesn't really have to work. And he's totally hedged. The kid's hedged. Father has to work. I'm not kidding. The kid's hedged. Look, I mean, this is happening. We don't want to talk about it, or maybe we think it's Weimar. Maybe it's Weimar 23.
Well, I mean, it's not often you create a new asset class and then write the regs around it in real time at the same time. That's different. And we don't know what that's going to bring.
Well, like the guys from Circle, I mean, I said that maybe there's a possibility that JP Morgan or BlackRock could do a stablecoin. Mm-hmm. And you get the usual emails just like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's much bigger. I've gotten more, I don't know what you're talking about in emails, and it's like so many of it. It's like great. Because every time I don't know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about.
So, I mean, you can't really say you're early now. If Jim Cramer is saying, I mean, he's not 100% convinced because he's like, we might be in Weimar 23, which is like alluding to horrible things happening in the future, right? So, I mean, what do you think, Opti?
I think it's over for Bitcoin. Jim Cramer's embracing it. It's done, guys. Wrap it up. No more bull run. We had a good run. All this good news coming out of the administration is just going to get nuked by the inverse Cramer. We had a good run. We're gonna get Bitcoin on discount. No, I mean, look. I think anyone that has studied money, fiat money in particular, always goes back to that very historic example of Weimar Republic when they hyperinflated. And whether that's where we are right now or whether we have different tools today to kind of combat that hyperinflation or rather hide the hyperinflation, I think is still kind of it's still something to be seen. Though what we are kind of seeing, and I wish we had this for the show today. I don't know what Nico has for the news. I'm going to be completely honest here. But we just saw the ECB come out and basically capitulate to the CBDCs, which if you're reading this through one perspective, it's basically saying they have lost control and they need more control. And the only reason I'm bringing that up in this context is there is a lot of speculation right now of whether Jay Powell and Scott Bessent have the economy under control or whether it's completely out of control and they are just kind of covering it up with vibes and narratives. And if we are in this place right now where we are going to see our currency hyperinflate over the next 10 years or so like that, there's going to be insane volatility in the dollar, which means there will be insane volatility in Bitcoin, which means this is the opportunity of a lifetime and you need to be saving in Bitcoin. But my point remains the same. Jim Cramer's embracing Bitcoin. It's over. We had a good run. We're going to get Bitcoin on discount.
I think we're winning, bro. I think we're winning. This is I don't know, man. It's so weird. Like I have like Stockholm syndrome. We were getting attacked for like 7 years, and then all of a sudden, everyone and their mother is like friends with Bitcoin. No, but one interesting tidbit that I'll say is, we all kind of go through this like vindication cycle as Bitcoiners, where for the first 2 years, like everyone in your family kind of makes fun of you for like buying this, and it goes down like 50%. You get wrecked. And then like if you stick it through like 3 or 4 years, like a full cycle, like you look like a genius. Like you're just like, oh my God, like this dude, like holy cow, like
I'm the family genius.
Like
now.
he's a genius. Like what do you mean he bought Bitcoin? But everyone kind of goes through that. Now, what's really interesting is last cycle, so between 21 and 25, it was Bukele and Saylor went through that like vindication, right? Like they were both super down on their investment, like strategies, stock like plummeted, Bukele's stock plummeted. And then out of nowhere, bam, boom, bam, bing, bro. This thing just blew up. You know, they look like geniuses, both of them. I think they are geniuses. So what I think is going to happen this cycle is the U.S. government's going to go, like the Trump administration is going to go through the same like kind of vindication, pay your dues, you know, but they're just delaying this. It take them 7 months to say like, we still haven't bought anything yet. Like the faster they pay their due. Okay, I'll pass this to you, Opti. Does the U.S. government buy the top?
I hope so.
When the announcement is finally made, is that the top?
No. Well, when the announcement is finally made, maybe the top, but they're not going to be buying when they announce it. They're going to be buying before they announce it. So they're going to be packing their bags earlier. So whenever they announce it, maybe that is the top of the cycle. But if they're smart, they're probably going to have been accumulating the whole time. Like, again, listening to Bo Hines, it sounds like they're already starting to accumulate Bitcoin. So they're probably already buying.
He was like kind of coy about it. I did notice that.
I think they're buying.
You think they're buying?
I think they're buying.
Oh, man.
Dude, you can't come out. Look, just think it through. You can't come out this publicly. Again, look, I'm no politician. I don't know how federal law fully works here. I'm not sure if this is considered fraud or insider trading here, or whatever the full stipulations are here. But you can, as a Bitcoiner, you can't go out there and announce these huge buys. We're going to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin for what? 9 months now, 6 months minimum, and you're not accumulating Bitcoin while you're doing that? Like, bro, they have to be buying Bitcoin. They just have to be. Like, it just makes no sense to me. I mean, Bo Hines was super coy about it. So to me, it seems like they are accumulating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is like. Again, I don't have any legal. I don't know how that works. I don't know. I don't have any legal advice here, but no, you're signaling to the market what you're gonna do, so the market can front run you in a way. Like you're not. You don't want people to know. Like if you're buying at such quantities, like I'll give you an example. Like, do you think
the point still remains the same? When they finally announce how much they have, they've already been buying. So they're signaling what they're going to do. That's the like, hey.
So you think they've already bought?
Dude, I think they got like it's really like Trump stuff. You know, you project and you telegraph what you're going to do. And then when you finally announce it, you're like, see, I told you.
The U.S. government now owns 1 million Bitcoin. Like, oh, man.
Yeah, look, this is it. The press release will be when they are done. Always is. That's what's going on. So and again, I don't know the legalities of this, but, you know, hey, call me a bad guy, but that's what I'd be doing if I was trying to buy 1 million coins.
Taylor Holm in the chat. Nico, who's your favorite Heat player of all time? Dwayne Wade, obviously, bro. And people are making fun of my.
To be completely clear
making
here,
fun of my hoodie. I'm from Miami.
Dude,
it's a Heat hoodie.
No, to be 100% clear here, it is a tourist hoodie, and he got it in the airport because he was cold. So you're right.
I did. There's a Heat store in the airport, and I forgot my hoodie at home, and I was like, dude, this would be dope. It would look good on the show, but it's funny how people are making fun of me because it looks like a tourist hoodie. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, smash that like button. We still have tons to cover. We have an update for you guys regarding the Samourai wallet case. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Nico, why should I give a flying F about all that? Like, look at what you just broke down. Opti's speculating the U.S. government is stealthily buying. You're basically saying it's going to hit 500,000 before the end of Trump's term. Like, Trump owns like all this, so he's incentivized for the price to pump. They're telling you Bitcoiners are going to be happy. Like, they're telling you all these things. Why in the hell are you going to insert negativity into this conversation? Why are you going to insert
some real shit's happening?
Why are you going to insert negativity into this bullish episode?
Because Nico's cold water on the chat.
Sure. Because we got to talk about what's happening to our boys from Samourai. Because at the end of the day, what happens is if they set a precedent, that is where there's a slippery slope, right? And that's what I'm watching out for. But breaking news, if you guys haven't been paying attention, this whole saga with the Samourai wallet developers, that essentially they wrote open source software. I believe they collected a fee for some of the services they provided. But essentially, it allowed people to use Bitcoin in kind of this private way, right? Like that was the whole point of Samourai. And last year, the Treasury Department started going after the developers of a lot of these companies or, places that offered these types of services. And that's why we've been paying attention to this, right? So we're going to talk about it. We have an update. It's extremely important. You should be paying attention to. Privacy should not be villainized. Your right to self-custody should not be villainized. And your right to transact peer-to-peer should not be villainized. I guarantee you that after this is going to be the villainization of peer-to-peer and self-custody. And the foreshadowing that you guys got, because you got a foreshadowing, is the fact that the Trump administration felt like it had a necessity to emphasize the fact that Congress has to act on that, right? If they didn't feel like they had a necessity to say that, then they wouldn't have said it. So anyways, let's check out the news. We'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card.
All right, everybody, you could scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Cold Card website where you guys get yourself a Cold Card. But first, you got to go to sat123.com/simply. It will allow you to get these Faraday bags. And this is where I put my hardware wallet so that, Opti, you're giving an example about what were you giving an example of?
Yeah, sorry guys. When I traveled from Dallas, I had to go to Nevada, but at the same time I was moving down here to Florida, and I didn't want to ship all of my my hardware wallets with my luggage in some random freaking Home Depot storage box. And so I put all my hardware wallets in a Faraday bag because I wasn't sure if the X-ray machine would mess with my hardware wallet, so I just threw them in, put them in my bag, and literally the only thing they checked was these mic stands. This is the only thing they care about. They didn't even check the Faraday bag. So I don't know, not a life hack, life tip there, but that's what I did, and they still work. So I don't even know if the X-rays do affect them, but I'm paranoid, and so I had to make sure.
So yeah, get yourself a Faraday bag at SAT123. They also have satellite phones. And then, of course, go to coldcard.com. Use promo code SIMPLY. Get 5% off anything on their store. So let's talk about news, because it is big breaking, ultra mega breaking update on the Samourai case. I think, Opti, you and I have been covering this for like a year, bro. It's almost as if we're journalists or something. It's kind of strange to say that. But yeah, Opti and I have been covering this story, this saga for a year. And it's crazy. And we saw it because I remember when the Tornado Cash stuff started happening, we were telling you guys, we're like, look, like they're going after this obscure software that no one knows. And then when they set a precedent, they're going to go after something bigger. And that's exactly what they did. So a lot of people were speculating that with the Trump administration, this case was going to be dropped. And it did get dropped by the Treasury. So the Treasury dropped the Tornado Cash case, but it seems like the DOJ is still kind of moving forward with a lot of these. And again, these are what I would say leftovers from the previous administration. So anyways, Samourai wallet developers plead guilty to conspiring to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business. Okay. That's not good news, right? So like before, they were essentially fighting it. Now, here's like the TLDR for like if you guys don't know about this. When you get charged by the federal government, they have like a 98% prosecution rate, right? So they don't like to move forward cases that they're not 100% sure they can prosecute. And when they do move a case forward and you want to fight it, the odds are not in your favor. So this signals to me, and again, I think it's too early to tell, that they made some type of plea deal to reduce the sentence. And this signals to me that also their lawyers must have felt like they couldn't fight it. And I think there is some news coming out, Opti, that the judge and whatnot was not allowing some of the evidence to be heard, right?
Yeah, so again, guys, I've been plugging Lola Leets the Rage for a minute. She's been doing incredible coverage in regards to this case, as well as other privacy matters that come up on the internet. And one of the things that I saw her say, I think it was last week, or maybe it was the beginning, it might have been the beginning of this week. But the judge was essentially allowing like chain analytics on like the government side, or what's it, the prosecutor side, right? But when it came to the Samourai wallet, defense, they were throwing out that chain analytics for them and saying, oh, this has, this is irrelevant to the case. And they're like, bro, like you're throwing out literal evidence that you're using on one side and the other side. And I think, where the court is being held is probably the biggest signal of what's going on here. Of course, it's in New York, and they've never been friendly to Bitcoin. And, so it doesn't seem like it's going well for the Samourai wallet guys. And like Nico said, the fact that they're pleading guilty to, operating an unlicensed money transmitting business, it seems like they're taking a deal, but I don't know if this article says it, Nico. Maybe we can get into it a little more. But I'm guessing they're taking this deal here and pleading guilty to this because the other charges that I believe they were being charged with were a lot worse. So I don't even know if I can say them here on YouTube without triggering these algos. But, they start with the letter T. So you guys can, start looking into that and illicit finance and stuff like that. So I think those charges were way worse. So that's probably why they're taking this lesser plea deal here. But I'm guessing this article is going to get into it a lot more.
Yeah, So shout out to Frank Corva and Bitcoin Magazine for this great coverage. So the headline is Samourai wallet developers plead guilty to conspiring to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business. Today, the founders of Samourai Wallet pled guilty to the second charge in their indictment, conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business, despite previously pled not guilty to the charge. And I'll give you kind of the TLDR, guys. So if you plead not guilty and you're found guilty, the judge will normally make the sentence way worse. If you plead guilty to whatever they're charging you with, the judge will normally give you a lesser sentence, right? So there's like kind of like a strategy to it. So anyways, in back-to-back hearings in the Southern District of New York, which I think is like notorious for like, you know, kind of like trialing.
Yeah, they've been attacking Bitcoin and Bitcoin adjacent companies for a long time. New York is like not a favorable place for any Bitcoin stuff at all.
Yeah, so the two founders admitted to playing a role in the transportation or transmission of funds derived from criminal offenses by operating Samourai Wallet, even after knowing that illicitly obtained funds were being moved through the mixing service. Now, okay. The reason I have a problem against this personally, and again, this is my opinion, right, is what that says is essentially like they wrote software and some people were using that software for illicit purposes. Like they weren't conducting illicit activity. Someone that was using their software was basically conducting illegal activity, and they're kind of, you know, holding them responsible for that. Now, I'm going to go back to part of the report that was released by the White House, and this is why they put it in the report. Congress should codify principles regarding how control over an asset impacts BSA obligations, particularly for money transmitters, through legislation such as the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, which has been incorporated into Clarity. Specifically, such legislation could codify that a software provider that does not maintain total independent control over value is not engaged in money transmission for purposes of the BSA. Right? So, like, you can see, right? Because, like, I don't think the Samourai guys had access, right, to everyone. Like I don't know how it works.
No, yeah, that's by default.
Right? Like, I don't think they had access to this. So, like, people were using their services. They didn't get to choose who was using their services, but essentially, like, they're being held responsible for people using their services. That's like blaming, like, car manufacturers.
That's like blaming the Fed for people using dollars to smuggle illicit activities. Like,
I'm just trying to, and again, like, the reason we're covering this is because it sets a precedent specifically for open source software, right? Like, that's the dangerous part. You want to know why Satoshi disappeared? This is why Satoshi disappeared off the face of the planet. This is literally why. So anyways, for their guilty pleas, both Rodriguez and Hill will face a maximum prison sentence of 5 years, a maximum supervised release period of 3 years, $250,000 fines each, and $100 special assessment fee each. Rodriguez and Hill are also required to pay a total of $6.3 million between them to satisfy the total amount of assets they agreed to forfeit to the court. $237 million. The two founders are required to produce the approximately $6.3 million by the sentencing date of November 7th through November 30th, 2025. In both Rodriguez and Hill's what does that say?
Allocutions.
Thank you. Allocutions. I'm learning so much fancy vocabulary today. They shared that from 2015 until 2024, they operated Samourai together, noting that the service enabled users to transfer Bitcoin from their own wallets to another Bitcoin address while Samourai obscured the transaction process. They both highlighted that in the process of running Samourai, they came to know that some of the Bitcoin moving through the service was derived from criminal activity, and they kept marketing and operating the service anyway. In Rodriguez's hearing, Judge Cote noted a tweet from the Samourai wallet Twitter account that read, "Welcome new Russian oligarch Samourai wallet users." I mean,
damn, shit post wrecked.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of confirms the government's case, right? And in Hill's hearing, the judge noted another tweet from the Samourai wallet developer Twitter account that read, "Europol also highlighted Samourai wallet as an emerging top threat." The judge seemingly pointed out these tweets in an effort to illustrate that not only did the Samourai wallet developers know that criminal actors were using the service, but that they seemed to take pride in it. Judge Cote stated that she was willing to continue with existing bail conditions for Rodriguez, which included his remaining under house arrest, having internet access, and not being permitted to use cryptocurrency. The judge altered bail conditions for Hill through stipulating that he can no longer remain under house arrest in Portugal and that he would have to do so in the Southeast District of New York. Andrew Chan, the member of the prosecution presented for both hearings, brought up the fact that Hill was being monitored by a private monitoring service in Portugal and requested that he now be monitored by pretrial services. Judge Cote approved this request. Sentencing is scheduled to take place on November 7, 2025, while the defense and prosecution are expected to have all required submissions in by October 25th, 2025 and October 31st, 2025, respectively. Okay. Now let's kind of do like a analysis, right, of all this, right? So I believe there was Wasabi and there was Samourai. The Wasabi guys never got charged. Why? So, and this was very unpopular with the Bitcoin community. But the Wasabi guys basically started blacklisting, I believe, right? Like they weren't accepting transactions from certain Bitcoin addresses to kind of avoid all of this. The Samourai guys were, as the tweets have shown,
A lot more hardcore.
a little bit more hardcore, but as the tweets have shown, it plays into the argument that the government is making that they were aware that there was, because that's the key. Like if they didn't post those things, it'd be hard to prove it, right? Because like for better or for worse, guys, like you have to understand this. Like at that time, by law, those guys had sanctions on them. Like the Russians had sanctions on them, right? So we have this kind of like mentality in Bitcoin where it's like, look, like, Bitcoin is uncensorable, it's peer-to-peer, but you could still put a human being in a box, bro, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to argue against that, man, because it really proves the point that the government is trying to make, right? And again, I'm no legal expert here. I'm just like someone who's covered this story for about a year. And just mere observations, I think you get decent at something if you do it every day for 5 years. But yeah, man, I mean, like let's just share the screen, dude. Like,
no, we don't put that back up.
It kind of sucks.
Don't put that back up.
It kind of sucks, but like, can't really argue against that, right?
I mean, look. One of the things I've kind of been going down the rabbit hole recently is kind of optics around all of us Bitcoiners. And, I think we can all acknowledge that's just like not really good optics. I get being super hardcore. And I'm still hoping for the best. And this might be the best case scenario considering that they really were throwing the book at them. Like there was some incredibly wild charges that they were getting charged with. So this might be the best case scenario that we can hope for. And since Nico and I aren't lawyers here, we just been covering this. We're just quote citizen journalists. I think these are probably better takes here. This is Jake Chervinsky. Yeah. Let me zoom in. There's actually two that he tweeted. Of course, he's a lawyer, as he says. I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. Where else is he at? Whatever. He's a lawyer. He does stuff in the space. Great takes. Of course, on this this charge, or rather that they are pleading guilty, he goes, "I never judge a defendant who decides to take a plea, even if they didn't do the crime. It's their liberty at risk. I assume the DOJ saw how terribly bad the Storm trial went for them and offered a sweetheart deal to save face. Still a sad and chilling day for software developers." And then going forward, "It's good for the Samourai devs that they got a deal from the DOJ to plead guilty, but tough to see DOJ get away with the false accusation that devs of non-custodial software are engaged in money transmission. Section 1960 is a grave threat to developer freedom. It must be amended." So, you know, I'll defer to someone that is much more familiar with this than me.
I mean, but they're basically confirming what we've been saying.
100%.
Yeah.
Though just the charge in itself is interesting. Like everyone's saying in the chat, it's like, okay, like, is Bitcoin money or is it not? We need a money transmitter license to deal with the software, and we're still not even kind of considered money. You know, it's obviously double speak, two-faced hypocrisy at its best.
It's money when it's convenient for them.
Of course, of course. Now, on that same page, the other case that is happening right now, it's literally in deliberation as we speak currently. Oh, let me pull this up. The Tornado Cash case, they are literally the jury's deliberating on this like literally as we speak. They said an hour ago they should get an answer, aka the US versus Storm case, which is the Tornado Cash stuff. We don't know what's gonna happen here. It seems like they're currently deliberating. They've asked for more evidence. So two big things happening basically on the same day. So I think Jake take it might be the signal here. You know, maybe they saw how bad this case was handled. If they get off, you know, or rather Roman Storm gets off here, we might have one good precedent being set. Maybe that's hopeful for what happened with the Samourai wallet guys, considering they got a couple of months to kind of handle this. And to be completely clear, guys, they are being handled in the same court in SDNY, and I think it's the same judge, if I'm not mistaken. So there still may be some hope here. But I think, as Jake was saying, like this is probably the best deal they're going to get. You know, we still kind of have to hold our breath. It's not looking good. Yeah, I mean,
like I said, like if you risk going to jury, like you have the opportunity to be vindicated, right, and like not be proven guilty, and then you're scot free. But if you are proven guilty, the judge is usually a little bit more harsh with sentencing. So when you see these types of like they took a deal, right, which is what I was saying in the beginning, right. They basically said we're guilty to a lower charge, and then the government's going to take into the judge is going to take that into account when he sentences them. Do I think they'll serve? And again, I'm not a judge or I'm not a lawyer or any of that, just mere observer. Do I think they'll serve the full 3 years? No, I don't think so. I think they'll get less than that. But my point remains the same. They're trying to make an example. This is like, the reason Ross got, and again, I'm not going to get into the legality of what he was doing and whatnot, but like the reason I could say this as an opinion, this is safe to say as an opinion. Do I think it's fair that he got 3 life sentences? No, that was not fair at all, right? That was not unfair. That wasn't cool whatsoever. But they were trying to make an example out of Ross. And that wasn't cool, right? And I think they're trying to do the same thing here, right? So, I'm working under constraints because it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate to say the least, but we'll stay on top of it. We'll give you guys an update on the Tornado Cash case tomorrow. We'll give you guys an update on the Tornado Cash and the Samourai case as it develops. But this is something as a Bitcoiner you should be paying attention to, because again, it's setting a very, very dangerous precedent, and then it de-incentivizes software development. And it also anonymizes software development, right? Fundamentally, code is speech, right? Code is a form of speech. Like, you can't convince me that data, like numbers or whatever on a keyboard, is somehow dangerous. Like, you can't convince me of that. So anyhow, guys, we're gonna hit the culture segment. Opti's got a special culture lined up for you guys.
It's kind of more doomy a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, just keep it going,
We're gonna be right back with the doomy culture segment in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
Taking my screen off. All right, guys.
I wasn't on in the first place. I put it full on, and then I was like, I feel bad because I made it full on.
No, he's lying. All right, guys, I saw this thread, and you know me, I love anything that confirms my own bias here. But I found this thread super interesting. So this guy, Felix Pren, apparently an ex-bankster. Maybe that's, you know, bankster. Yeah, maybe that's his authority here. So he, you know, basically he's framing it like I've been on the inside, but there is some
bankster.
Bankster, yeah. What did I say?
I mean, it sounds notorious. It sounds like
bankster, not a. I mean, a bank. It's totally a gangster. We're talking about the same thing. It's like
that's an opinion.
Synonym. Sure, it's my opinion. Not simply Bitcoins. Anyways. Anyways, let's get to this thread. Because really, I like this thread, guys. I really do like the thread. But it's funny, at the end, he does the basically like join my paid group stuff. And, you know, he's totally missing the mark in regards to Bitcoin, which is probably because he used to work at a bank. But anyways, it goes. Bank of America just dropped a massive warning. We're in a bubble bigger than the .com crash. I repeat, a bubble bigger than the .com crash. And he's got data to back this up. So 38% of the S&P 500 is concentrated in just 10 companies. The PE ratios hit 27x versus 25x in 2000. So we are 2 times bigger, or 2x more than in 2000. So from we're at 25 to 27x. And he goes, here's a full picture. And of course, the end, he literally doesn't really give you much advice, but we're giving you the advice here because you just need to buy Bitcoin. But I'm going to explain the problem anyways. First, let's look at the concentration problem. Bank of America's chart. He can't even spell. Chart shows something alarming. 38% of the entire S&P 500 is concentrated in the top 10 companies. In 2000, it was Microsoft, Intel, and Oracle. In 2020, Microsoft and Apple. Now it's just a few names again. You can see market cap dominance here. It's going pretty high. Top 10 weights in the S&P 500 last week hit 37.3% of the index, near the 38% level it reached in January, which has been its highest level on record, according to S&P Dow Jones Indexes, citing data since 1975. And I don't know if you guys have been watching the Main Street, but, you know, S&P 500, I think it was like broke 11 record highs this year alone. It's just constantly hitting new all-time high. And everyone that's like a Wall Street guy, S&P 500, all the boomers out there are just super hyped. They're like, man, we're making so much money. This is great. And everyone on our side's like, nah, I think there's a bigger problem in the system. Anyways, and he goes, think you're diversified by buying the index. You're not. You're basically buying the top 10 companies and a bunch of underperforming stuff underneath. That's the reality of today's market concentration. And here's another way to see the bubble. Forward PE ratios. That's today's price divided by the next year's expected profits. In the 2000 bubble, top companies traded at 25 times earning. Right now, we're at 27 times earning. We're actually more expensive than in the dot-com peak. I don't know. It sounds like a bubble to me. So should you panic and sell everything? And then, you know, he's like, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom and look around at previous rallies. It can go higher. You know, when markets get irrational, it could go higher for, what's the saying? You know, it could be irrational longer than you can be solvent. This is kind of what he's saying. We can still go up higher from here, but he's kind of just saying on the writing on the wall is we're in the midst of a bubble here, an everything bubble, as I think Larry Lepard used to say. You know, it's done it in the past. It can do it again, and the data is backing this up. It could continue on for days, if not months. And he says this is where he really goes off the rules here, you know. So where are the real opportunities hiding? There's actually a list of the most heavily shorted stocks that can squeeze next. They are the powder kegs waiting to explode. Look, you don't have to DM him, retweet, and comment the rules, and he'll give you his trading group, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to buy more companies that are literally a part of the system. He's literally talking about diversifying into indexes, but then he's going to tell you to diversify into, you know, the companies that are really going to make it. Guys, just buy Bitcoin. But I think this data here coming from Bank of America is very interesting, kind of showing, hey, we are probably in the everything bubble. And not to be a full doom and gloomer, I know Larry Lepard's been saying this for a while. Max Kaiser's been saying this for a while. Like, we are in the midst of the everything bubble. And though a lot of people out there, like your normie friends and family, think they're getting richer because of their houses or their S&P 500 stocks, you know, indexes are going up. It's the currency that's getting nuked right now, guys. And even though the Trump administration is doing a lot of things to kind of maintain dollar dominance, why continuing playing the same games? Just buy some Bitcoin and chill. You know, start a Bitcoin podcast or something. Go hang out with your Bitcoiners, eat some steaks. But yeah, it's
way to kill the buzzkill, bro.
Well, you know, sometimes I gotta be the cold water, not just you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You think it's true?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm also biased.
So we're going into a bear market, bro. A record bear market.
Dude, I don't know. As he said, it could go higher longer. And really, like, the idea here.
Does he have a paid group?
It sounds like it. It sounds like he said, DM me and I'll give you the stonk picks. I think we can still go higher longer. And again, like I was going to say, it really kind of boils down to the trust in the system. If people fundamentally lose trust in the system quickly, they have to find a home. You know, they have to find somewhere to store their capital. And obviously, you want to be the first one out of the door. But from what I see for most people, they're just playing musical chairs within the system, and they're going to get absolutely wrecked. So you're saying bear market. I think I'm going more on like a Great Depression #2, dude.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, man. We've already been in a recession for the last year or two, right?
Man, I mean, Trump's going to get wrecked, bro. Like,
well, that was the plan for them.
Bitcoin's
Right?
gonna get wrecked.
No,
too.
actually, you know, being a little more favorable, you know, being what do you call it, a Nico tard here, a MAGA tard here. I think what's really going to play out is the U.S. dollar, being the strongest one, will probably be able to scathe as much pain as possible. But the EU is going to get absolutely devastated. Every other currency is going to get wrecked. I think I'm starting to lean into just how much of a genius Scott Besson is. Remember, he was part of George Soros Foundation or one of his companies. So he knows how to destroy other currencies, and I'm kind of backing him to maintain our dominance here. But that's because I'm an American. I don't want to see my family get wrecked. But I've been telling them to buy Bitcoin. So again, not to the full doom porn here, you know, doom be fear mongering. Just buy Bitcoin. Just save in Bitcoin, continue to save in Bitcoin. But hey, this might be some information you want to share to your friends and family. Again,
way to kill the buzz, bro. Someone in the chat, the magician, depression will bring BTC down 90%.
Hey, we get a 90% discount. Let's go.
People are quoting you. Nico is
It's true. Ron, it's so true.
All right, bro. At least I voted for Ross's freedom, man. At least I could say that.
Cool.
That's on my conscience, bro. So, you know. Anyways, Lady says, Nico, you're so patient with this dude. God bless you.
I am patient with him.
I appreciate it. You know, some people don't see it. You know, I like to give myself credit, but I appreciate you, lady.
Dude.
The chat's turning against you, bro.
You know what? Let's end the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys enjoyed today's show for July 31st, 2025, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. And guys, we're going to see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Me and Opti are going to finish off the week strong, and hopefully we'll have an update for you guys.
Am I going to finish the week strong?
Hopefully, no, I'll be there. Hopefully we have an update for you guys regarding these two cases that, again, are incredibly important. Love you guys. Go outside, get some sun, touch some grass, enjoy your family, eat some good food. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode of SB Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.